but Leigh is a seasoned storyteller. She's here again tonight as a lifelong fan of philanthropy and learning and donuts. Please welcome a seasoned storyteller, Leigh.
Is seasoned another word for old? All right, we'll bring this down to my level. So I got my first job pretty much the second I was legally allowed to work. I had just turned 16 and was riding the school bus home with my best friend Jean. We had an early dismissal for snow, a foreign concept for my Arizona friends, but not at all uncommon for Wharton, New Jersey, where I grew up. It was still coming down pretty hard when we hit our mutual bus stop. Jean lived in a house down a very steep hill, and I lived in a townhome up a very steep hill. That afternoon, we decided to attempt neither, and instead walked to the flat, less slippery path to the warm and welcoming donut shop right across the street. And yes, I'm talking about having to walk home uphill in the snow back in my day. But do not okay boomer me. I assure you, I am 100% Gen X. The donut shop was a little odd in that it had 3 different names: Donut Town, The Whole Creation, and Happy Jack's Chicken Shack. Neither Jean nor I had ever ventured in before. There was a wall of net baskets that held donuts, donut holes called Little Middles, since Munchkins is trademarked, and muffins. The cash register sat on top of a glass case that had an assortment of fancier donuts, like bear claws and bow ties. There were several burners with several coffee pots of variable fullness behind a W-shaped counter that was lined with shiny red cushion-topped metal stools, and they spun all the way around. Ask me how I know. Whee! Jean and I ordered hot cocoa, since neither of us were coffee drinkers yet, and the specialty of the house, a bluebird, which was a blueberry cake donut glazed and filled with blueberry jelly. The second best part of the afternoon was warming our freezing hands on hot cocoa mugs. But the best part was the hot guy behind the counter. Dark brown hair, brown eyes, mustache, flannel shirt. He was like an apron-wearing Marlboro man. Even though I was still cold, I took off my jacket to better showcase my assets, which actually sat above the counter back then. He noticed. We flirted hard. He said he was getting off shift soon and offered both of us a ride home. He went out back to put chains on his tires, while we lost our flirty bravado to second thoughts about getting in a stranger's car. Jean said, at least let him drop me off first, so he only kidnaps and murders you. We paid and sprinted out the door before he came back. The next morning, while I was waiting at the bus stop, Munchkin-slinging Marlboro Man came running over with a hot chocolate for me. The bus came before I could apologize for ditching the day before, so I walked back that afternoon. I could see through the window that someone else was behind the counter, but also in the window was a help wanted sign. I went in and asked the pretty blonde woman for a job application and a bluebird to snack on while I filled it out. My Marlboro Man called me himself that evening. I teased him that it was unethical to get my number from a job application. He countered that he was the owner's son and was in charge of hiring for the position. Touché. I flirted my way through the phone interview and got the job. Up until then, I had been babysitting for $1.25 an hour, so the prospect of having a real job was exciting and so grown up. I ended up working at Donut Town, Whole Creation, Happy Jack's Chicken Shack through my remaining 3 years of high school. I learned how to make excellent coffee, bake muffins in bulk, and fill and glaze thousands of donuts. We were located between a police station and a military base, so the tips were outstanding. Marlboro Man and I ended up dating for about a year, so I also got more than the tip in the back room on top of the industrial flour sacks. I'm both proud and a little sad to note that was the first and last time my career choices were sexually motivated. After high school, I moved across the country to Arizona for college. College jobs included fast food, Jack in the Box for a day and a half, and Carl's Jr. for 3 months. Then student worker in the English department, special ed tutor, textbook reader, and butter-flavored goo specialist in concessions at a movie theater. That last one was the worst because I'm short, so pumping butter on popcorn from the eye-level spigot splashed it right in my face, greasing up my glasses and giving me the shittiest complexion of my life. When I graduated with a degree in English and Humanities, I was hired as a grader for upper division lit classes. It was great, but temporary. I wanted to be an English teacher, but my advisor was asleep at the switch. Teaching certification would take another 1.5 years of coursework. I was out of money and time, so I dove headfirst into the job market instead, taking an executive assistant position in an advertising agency. It was a pretty normal job, until I got a hold of it. See, I have shitty boundaries and a need to constantly prove myself worthy. So I did all the duties in my simple, straightforward job, but then, like Oliver Twist, I asked for more. In addition to the typing, filing, and message taking that I was hired and paid to do, I started writing ad copy and commercial scripts, designing logos, and doing quality control for the turnkey psychic and phone sex lines we sold as a side venture. When I left the ad agency after 2 years, my next job launched what would be the beginning of a really interesting, self-inflicted workaholic whirlwind 30-plus year career. This was my first taste of working for a nonprofit. Holy shit. If you are looking to be paid very little with the opportunity to take on extra roles where the work is never ending and the stakes are really high because people will actually suffer if you're not good at your job, the nonprofit world was made for you. Don't worry if you're not qualified with depression and anxiety, you'll pick it up along the way. I kid, nonprofit work is meaningful, and you're definitely making a difference. Plus, while they can't ever afford to pay you what you're worth, your bosses in the community you serve will genuinely appreciate your efforts. I have a huge box of photos, thank you notes, and awards to accompany the memories of all the funds I raised and the special events I planned. I loved working in the nonprofit sector, until I didn't. Burnout from managing job duties by myself that used to be spread out between 6 people finally got the better of me, especially since I knew even worse circumstances were on the horizon. More budget cuts, more motivational speeches from on high about doing more with less or with nothing. If you don't have boundaries of steel and a death grip on prioritizing your personal life and family, you have no hope. I had no hope. My husband had seen me come home in all states over the years, exhausted, crying, ranting, needing a stiff drink at all hours long after family dinner, bath time, and putting the kids to bed. But the night I came home, sat down, and calmly told him that we were down another staff person who wouldn't be replaced, and my boss wanted to add 2 capital campaigns and 5 additional events to my calendar, including a national conference, all within a 10-month period. He was the one who said it first. That's completely untenable for anyone. You need to quit. So I did. After 17 years in one job, it was one of the hardest things I ever had to do. And what do I do now? My eldest son was graduating from U of A with a degree in physics and a minor in education. He was going to apply to the Teach Arizona program to get his master's degree and certification to become a high school physics teacher. I was so proud of him and a little jealous. I mused about how I always wanted to be someone's favorite weird English teacher. He said, "Why don't you apply too?" And I said, maybe next year, not wanting to ride on his coattails or be his competition if there were limited spots. But he said, why wait? He thought it would be cool if we both got into the program together. So we did, and we both graduated with our master's degrees this past May. Thank you. I am so proud to say that my son got a job at an awesome high school where he'll be teaching algebra and physics plus capoeira as an elective. And if you don't know, capoeira is this Brazilian martial art that he's been doing since he was 6. I'm bragging as a mom now, but anyway, capoeira. I'm pissed off to say that I fucked up my student teaching, which is a whole other story, and took an alternate route to get my degree. I graduated with extra coursework and a 4.0, but no certification. I could still teach at a charter school and get certified later, theoretically, but so far, I can't even get an interview. I guess 54-year-olds reinventing themselves are super brave, but not super hot on the job market right now, especially when the current administration is actively trying to burn down the Department of Education, so no one knows what's going to happen to their budgets or their schools. I got a job as an online English tutor for middle and high school students. The pay is significantly less than I made at Donut Town, with no tips of any kind. As predicted, I love working with the kids. I have 4 long-term students so far, 2 of whom tell me they love and look forward to my classes. They're my favorites, which is the thing tutors are allowed to have because no one knows. I don't know what comes next in this new underemployment journey. I've been contemplating my skill sets, trying to think outside the box. Maybe I could start a combination essay assistance phone sex line, like, if you need help with your term paper, press 1. If you'd like a simulated blowjob, press 2. What else have I got? I bake, I write, I'm pretty good at reading tarot cards. I have options. All of my assorted jobs have taught me so much. I have no regrets, but I don't want to go backwards. For now, I'm focused on being creative and resourceful, collecting odd jobs that make me happy without working me to death, and hoping it's enough to break even. Thank you.